Is it our temperament? Curious, jealous, benevolent? Yes, but we change with experience. So, what remains of us despite the passage of time? My experience as a neurosurgeon tells me that it is our gestures that define us intimately. Let me explain. What is more personal than your mother waving goodbye or hello in the street? Or the way a friend swims in the sea in the summer? Or me, the way I express myself to you and speak with my hands? We all have a repertoire of gestures that is unique to us. That characterizes us and that will last throughout our lives. These are motor programs learned and automated by the deep regions of our brain. These are programs that we call subconscious. This means that we do not think about them when we perform them. And since we do not think about them, our personality is expressed through them. Let's take another example. You don't shake hands with your boss the same way you shake hands with your best friend, that's obvious. And it's within the deep structures of the brain that this fabulous mix of motor skills on the one hand and emotion on the other takes place. I'm going to show you a video of a former dancer. She has Alzheimer's.
Elle est atteinte.
She remembers perfectly the choreography of the Swan's Lake dance that she learned, relearned, overlearned. How is that possible? In addition, in her gestures, you saw the grace, the emotion that emerges. Well, it is possible because Alzheimer's disease affects the cortex, that is to say the surface of the brain. But the deep structures are preserved. So yes, biographical, episodic memory goes away, but procedural memory remains. In Parkinson's disease, it is the opposite. The cortex is normal, and it is the deep structures of the brain that malfunction. Look at this Parkinson's patient. You see how difficult walking is. It is slow. It is really difficult. You have to concentrate a lot to initiate these programs. We operated on this patient. Put in place deep brain stimulation electrodes deep in his brain, and here is the result. Spectacular, right? Walking is restored, automatic motor programs are restored, its fluidity, its speed, its beauty too. It requires us, neurosurgeons, to be extremely precise. We need to go to the nearest millimeter in the brain of a given patient. It is a great method because it is minimally invasive. That is to say that we need to open the skull very little to place our electrodes very precisely. It is also reversible. That is to say that we turn on the stimulation, we have the effects, we turn off the stimulation, the effects disappear, and it adapts. We have been using this treatment in clinical routine for 25 years now, particularly to treat patients with Parkinson's disease. And we have sometimes placed the electrode a millimeter next to the target. And we have witnessed unexpected phenomena that I would like to share with you. Look at what happens when we stimulate a millimeter below the intended target.
J'en ai marre de la vie.
We stop the stimulation, the melancholy stops in favor of a little
On
smile.
arrête la stimulation, la mélancolie s'arrête au profit d'un petit sourire.
And here is what happens now when we stimulate a millimeter further forward.
Plus en avant.
L'année, on est allé en vacances au Maroc.
Always a great pleasure for me to share this video more seriously. This means, from these two examples, we can conclude that 1 millimeter from the intended target, we can produce emotional behavior. This is a great discovery, both neuroscientific and medical. Neuroscientific, because it tells us about how the human brain works. Medical, because it means that if we can treat neurological diseases with movement disorders, we will be able to treat psychiatric diseases with emotional disorders. And we have started to do this in patients who are very resistant to different treatments, with some success. If you have followed me, this means that today, we are able, by delivering very small electrical impulses deep in the human brain, to modify an individual's emotions. Do we have the right to do it? Well, yes, it seems to me that we have the right to do it in the case of patients who are in immense suffering. And I am thinking in particular of patients who have bouts of pathological violence, for whom they are hospitalized in a unit for difficult patients. They cannot live freely because their uncontrollable fits of rage can turn against themselves or against others. So what hope for these patients? Let's think about it. First of all, are we acting for the good of the patient or for the good of society? Isn't there a conflict of interest? Tomorrow, we must not delude ourselves. We will use these techniques not only to treat, but to increase memory, increase vigilance, increase our sensory capacities. We are at the dawn of a medical, scientific, but also social, political and perhaps anthropological revolution.